Here are 6 underrated tactical tips that are often overlooked by players, and you can use them to catch your opponent off guard and gain an advantage in battle. I'm sure you've heard of unit overlap before. It's when you have a unit covering another unit of yours that is exposed to potential enemy attack. This usually is to deter them from attacking, as you can simply pull back the injured unit and retaliate with the support unit. And most often, players will overlap units at maximum movement to where the support unit can reach the exact tile the exposed unit is at. Well, what if I told you that you can have the exposed unit be 2 tiles further away from the support unit and still have unit overlap? Yes, this is because sometimes the support unit doesn't have to reach the tile where the exposed unit is at. In this example, we can see the blue tank being able to attack the red infantry from 2 tiles if the infantry is on the silo. So it makes sense that the red tank overlaps to cover properly. Now, ideally the red infantry would love to go and capture that neutral city, but this city is too far away for the red tank, so the tank won't overlap with the red infantry, meaning it could be susceptible to an attack from the blue tank. But if you look closely, if the red infantry goes for the city, the blue tank can only attack it from 1 tile. This means that the red tank only needs to reach the adjacent tile to retaliate. Effectively, this means the red tank is covering the red infantry while being 8 tiles away. Be careful when attacking a unit. Look closely at the tiles available to attack from, and think of the possible counterattacks from your opponent next turn. Sometimes you might pick the tile with higher defense, but won't notice you'll get yourself into a losing battle due to other adjacent tiles. In this example, the red tank wants to retaliate against the blue tank for attacking the red infantry. It can attack from the road or from the plains. Attacking from the plains will give the most defense out of these two, so usually it will be a no-brainer to do this, to reduce the counterattack damage as well as the incoming retaliating second blue tank. But here, attacking from the plains means that the second blue tank can retaliate from an even better tile, the neutral city. Now, the fight that started on roads and plains for both armies now moved onto a much advantageous terrain for blue, as blue can keep reinforcing and attacking from the city, while red has to attack from the plains onto the city. So, in this scenario, it'd be wiser for the red tank to attack from the road and keep the fight there for an even ground. Always try to look for cracks in your opponent's defense. It might seem like they have perfect coverage of units, but sometimes a single forest can completely ruin their overlap. In this example, the red tank again wants to retaliate against the blue tank for attacking the poor little red infantry. But if it does, there's a second blue tank to retaliate, and it might end up being a losing trade for red. But what red can do is to go for the tank attack and use the infantry to block the route that the second blue tank would normally use, forcing it to go through the forest tile, preventing it from reaching the fight next turn. In essence, red was able to get a first strike tank-on-tank attack for free. On the topic of free hits, something that can help you visualize attacks when the game is approaching a semi-stall, when unit count starts building up and there's a sort of stare down everywhere on the map, is to look for free hits with triangle units. Now, what do I mean with this? The classic triangle in Advance Wars is tank, anti-air, copter. So, when you start seeing unit build-up, look at every tank of yours and what they could possibly hit. Are those units covered by a retaliating unit against your tank? Now look at your copters. What units can your copters hit? And if they do so, would they be hit back by enemy anti-air or copters? Check your anti-air. What units could they hit, and if they did, would they get hit back? It is very hard and takes time to have a balanced composition, so sometimes if you look closely you might find some of these free triangle hits. For example, your opponent might have infantry and copters on one front, meaning your anti-air could get away with a free hit. Or maybe they might outnumber you on tanks on a front, but you can get away with a free copter hit since they have no air defenses. At a small scale, this can help you chip away at your opponent's army. An infantry hit here, a tank hit there, it will add up in the long run. Now, sometimes an attack might seem free, but it can actually be a trap. For this example, we'll look at my match against Astro in the round 3 of a Mariner 2 Cup. It could seem like my opponent blundered by starting that capture without any support to retaliate against my tank. But this was indeed a trap. I made the mistake of not looking carefully enough at all the surrounding enemy units and went for the attack, only to be trapped in by a T-copter and 2 infantry, and get my tank shot down by a copter and mech next turn. Losing a whole vehicle this early in a match can be devastating, so keep an eye out on possible traps, and even better, try to set up and lure your opponents into your own traps. The last tip on this video is to keep an eye out for unit sacrifice to achieve a wall break. I've talked about this briefly on the intermediate tips video, but we can dive a bit deeper here. The most classic example is to save your injured 4 HP infantry. Why is this? Well, it's pretty common to see infantry walls set up at certain stages of the game. This means you only have one tile to attack from at each of your opponent's infantry, meaning that unless you can one-shot an infantry, you won't be able to break through and hit the enemy vehicles behind those walls. Anti-airs can definitely play a big role in these scenarios, as they reliably one-shot infantry in many cases. But if you don't have an anti-air or would rather not use it to wall break, well then, your 4 HP infantry will save the day. It can attack a frontline infantry dealing a bit of damage while getting destroyed by counterattack, but enough so that a tank can one-shot the injured infantry from the same tile, and boom, now you can shoot at the second line or use the new available tile to start 2-hit KOing the other frontline units. But this can go way beyond the 4 HP infantry wall breaking. You can sacrifice your injured copters against their full HP copters to ensure the KO with another copter when you have no anti-air. You can sacrifice a low HP tank to ensure the follow-up 2-hit KO on an enemy tank on a city. Probably the most epic example recently was during the round 1 finals match of the Mariner 1 Cup with Rip and Voice of Akasha. Rip had won the overall fight in this area and was looking to overrun the enemy base, but there's only one tile to attack from, and Voice of Akasha made a tank. If Rip had a copter in range, it could very easily use the mountain tile to provide that second strike necessary, but he didn't have any and didn't want to wait any longer. He saw the opportunity to sacrifice 5 units in order to ensure the KO with the last full HP tank, freeing up the base and enabling the capture right there and then. And there you have it, 6 tactical tips that you can add to your toolkit. Keep an eye out for these when planning your turns, as well as identifying and preventing what your opponent could do. I hope these tips help you win many battles. Please let me know if you like this video. This type of content does require much more work than the other ones. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, leaving a comment about which of the 6 tips was your favorite or that you had never thought about before. It's your support what motivates me to make more of this. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.